Hey, welcome to Optimize Your Body with Martin Silva, where we talk raw, uncut facts to truly help you optimize your body.
Hey guys and girls, thank you for tuning in. I have Andrew Bond on the line, and we're going to dive straight into some questions we had from the audience. And yeah, a couple of interesting ones. One of them is relating to basically genetics and how much of a difference it makes in terms of, certain people are born with a particular body type. For example, Andrew and I both born as what they call ectomorphs. So we've both been, we were skinny teens, and it took us a while to build muscle. We're hard gainers. It took us a while to get to where we're at in terms of muscle gains. So it was a long project for us. Whereas other people are known as endomorphs, and they're generally bigger. They find it harder to lose body fat. But what I find is generally a lot of people who are endomorphs generally tend to build muscle a bit faster. So yeah, there's pros and cons to both really. But the question was from a guy on Instagram called Isaac Tuha, at Isaac Tuha. And I'll read it out quickly. It was, hey Martin, I'm interested in metabolism, specifically revolving around teenagers and younger kids. My brother has always been the tall, skinny kid, where I have always been the chunkier brother. And I've had to watch my food intake since I was 13. We basically eat similar foods as it's been whatever our mum's cooked, which has been healthy. We have 2 years age difference. Also, the ectomorph, endomorph, and mesomorph body types, are they a myth, or do they actually play a role in body fat percentage and muscle mass? So mesomorph, folks, is someone who generally builds muscle. So it's more of a muscular kind of athletic physique. But I don't really believe anyone's born a mesomorph. I think they're, like Andrew and I, are probably ectomeso. We're skinny, but we can. I don't really know if even mesomorph is a type, to be honest. But anyway, he said, how much of a role of genetics play in fitness goals, and are body types a myth, or do they play a part in muscle gain or fat loss? Now, as I said, we've always been, as teenagers and kids, Andrew and I are both always quite skinny, right? So, as I say, it took us a while to build muscle, and it was a long project. However, I think there's so many different factors that play a part in this as well. So he was saying about, they both eating similar foods and stuff, and there's only 2 years apart. And one of the brothers is naturally bigger and one is naturally skinnier. Now, I've seen this a lot in siblings. I've started to notice it a lot. For example, my girlfriend, she can just look at a dumbbell and build muscle, but she finds it harder to lose body fat. Whereas her sister is genetically really slender. They're completely different body types. So obviously genetics do play a big part in, massive part. And in fact, I looked at some studies, and basically, in terms of heritability, right? So the estimates can range for about 30 to 80%, right, for muscle strength in terms of your genetics. So skeletal muscle is a highly heritable trait, right? So that's quite a big margin. So 30 to 80% of your lean mass, of your strength it can be based on genetics, whereas 50 to 80% of your genetics are going to determine how much muscle you can gain. So based on those stats, obviously genetics play a huge part in it. But yeah, how have you found it, Andrew, over the years, and what you've learned with clients and stuff in terms of different body types? Do you have anything to say about this, mate?
Yeah, man, I think in terms of body types, I feel it's kind of I think it's been displaced now, and it's been dispelled in the fitness industry, man. There's, like you said earlier, there is that crossover, and there's so many different variables with each person, so many different environmental factors to take into account, that to class everyone in the same category would be pretty much foolish. I feel like in the fitness industry these days, we categorize people to play on insecurities or sell them a product, right? So you're going to say, right, he is a ectomorph, right? He's tall and lean. You're a hard gainer. You're in this category. You should choose this program to train with, this type of diet to follow. Then you are endomorph. You gain fat really easily, and you need to follow this category or follow this training program. Whereas, everyone is an individual, everyone is different. So you need to treat each person differently. In terms of are these guys teenagers, or are they
Not anymore. No, they're like in their early 20s, I believe. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay. So, what's the height? Is it like height vary? Like, I need a little bit, excuse me, a bit more information on both of them. But are they the same height, or is one?
Yeah, they're around as far. I think one is a little bit shorter, but I don't think there's much in it with height. I didn't actually
Yeah.
ask him that, but yeah, he said basically he's always, even since like the age of 13, they've always eaten very similar. They've always played sports and done similar things activity-wise, but he's
Right.
he's always had to watch. I kind of got it wrong earlier. Sorry, they didn't eat the same. He's had to be more cautious about what he eats and stuff, even from the age of 13.
Right.
So,
Right. I was going to. They are eating the same. Then that could have been, it'd be very difficult to know without us tracking like what they're consuming and what their calories are. Obviously, they may have just had different portion sizes.
absolutely.
Did one of them could play a different position in sports? So, it's like when they play rugby or football or.
Yeah, I think they played rugby, and I think they played a few sports. You know, it's like here in Australia. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm assuming like rugby league, rugby union. So if one was in the forwards, then he may have been more physically active, I guess. If he's like playing flanker or number 8, where he has to get around the park a lot, he has
Yeah.
to do a lot of mauling. Then the other is in the backs.
yeah.
You do less movement there.
Exactly.
Less,
When you add it all up, it's true, because they can be these. Yeah, that's right. Because it could be like subtle changes where someone's doing like let's just say one of them was averaging an extra 5,000 steps a day for whatever reason that was. He was moving an extra 30 minutes to an hour a day. If you look at the compound effect of that, it can have a massive effect. But at the same time, like we don't claim to be doctors or scientists, and we're not gonna say we know everything about genetics, because it's very complicated. With human metabolism, it's so complicated. However, as I was saying earlier, there's so many different things which can happen from one sibling to the next. In terms of the body type, I've observed it a lot, and I've seen brothers and sisters who have got completely different genetic shapes, and there's only a few years apart. They've got the same mum and dad, obviously, so there can be so many changes genetically, because they're finding out a lot now about like epigenetics, which is where your genes we have like about 19 to 20,000 different like protein coding genes, right? So essentially you've got about 19 to 20,000 different genetic blueprints, and all those genes respond differently. Like you have a certain amount of muscle building genes, you have a certain amount of genes which help you lose fat, you have all these, and you have like all different genes which are going to help with immune system function and turning certain things on and off within your immune system. This is so complicated, but what they found is that you can, with epigenetics, is basically when your genes can switch on and off based on the environment. So what they're finding is, so like, for example, their mum and dads, like within that 2 years apart, they would have experienced different things within their life, which means the environment or wherever their lifestyle was within that 2 years, certain genes could have switched on and off, and that could then change the DNA of the child, right? Now, again, I don't want to sound like a scientist, but there can be a lot of difference from person to person. But as Andrew was saying, there could also be a huge difference in lifestyle stress. I didn't ask the guy what their upbringing was like. Like they could have had certain levels of stress and whatnot, which could cause different changes within the body, right? And so
and especially more prevalent these days is that like, are we obviously, as they went through school, was one of them more conscious about like their body and their image, the one who was maybe slightly bigger and slightly overweight, and deleted from that, be more conscious, and maybe he had people talking about him in school and saying certain things to him. Did that put him off like doing certain activities and joining groups and joining different sports?
Absolutely.
And, making him less active as well. So if you're talking about environmental factors, that could have happened.
Yeah, definitely.
The emergence of, I know he's 20, so definitely it's different to our time. Obviously, we didn't have things like social media and putting pressure on us, but that maybe something that he was paying more attention to. So rather than going outside and being active, were they spending more time on social media, hours per day? Were they on the computer playing games a lot more? Because I know now it's more difficult for children to go outside. It's kind of a punishment for a parent to tell a child to go outside and do some activity. Whereas when we were growing up, we were told, right, you need to get outside, and we wouldn't come back for hours. Where parents are more likely now, because they're afraid of the dangers. We're probably in a safer time now than ever, but they feel that it's more dangerous, so they'll keep their kids indoors, so they will be less active.
Absolutely.
and that can have a different effect on the body, you know.
Definitely, mate. And I wanted to say about that as well. Let's just talk about that real quick, because it's actually crazy how much has changed from one generation to the next. If you look at when we were kids, Andrew, as you said then, like I was outside all the time playing sports non-stop. Yes, I did like computer games, right? So I did like to play on my Mega Drive and then my PlayStation and stuff like that. But I wasn't, and I did go through a phase where I was kind of getting addicted to certain games. But nowadays, kids are addicted to playing on their tablet or their phone or their laptop or whatever game it is or whatever app they want to play on, and playing against their mates on different, like, I don't know, Call of Duty, like that's a big one, isn't it? Like the war games. And you can't, like my nephew, for example, even since the age of like 3 or 4, my sister's had to struggle to pull him away from his tablet and get him outside. You know what I mean? Like you have to, it's like you said then, it's quite a worrying prospect, really. But I reckon we can just sum this up, really, and we can kind of identify the experiences we've had with clients. Because he did say, is body types a myth, or do they actually play a role in fat percentage, losing fat and building muscle? And to answer that question, yeah, they play a huge part, really, because I have certain clients I'll train, and we talked a lot before about increasing your daily steps and focusing on lifting weights, to lose body fat, and then obviously just trying to eat right most of the time. But for some people who find it hard to lose body fat, so if that's you listening now and you have a real hard time losing body fat, firstly, there could be lots of different aspects which are playing a part in that. But I find those kind of people have to sometimes schedule cardio in. I have to actually say, right, okay, you have to allocate 30 to 45 minutes of walking every day. Or if they enjoy something else like the elliptical and they want to do that, that's fine. I'll normally keep a low intensity, but I'll say to that body type, so let's just say that's the endomorph body type, who's genetically, they carry more body fat genetically and find it hard to lose fat. I will say, right, you have to allocate and schedule that cardio in, as opposed to just saying, right, okay, you need to hit 12,000 steps. I'll get them to schedule that cardio in one way or another. And I find they do lose body fat a bit faster then. So, and then with the people who find it harder to build muscle, the ectomorphs, I have to really hone in on, are they eating enough calories? Are they in a calorie surplus? Are they getting enough food in? Because I find for those people, they could skip a meal and, they're in a huge calorie deficit just by having what, the best way to describe it is, they could have a week where they're not quite eating enough and they will plateau and not build muscle. Not necessarily lose a significant amount of muscle, but they will plateau much quicker when it comes to building muscle if they have that skinny or ectomorph, body type.
There's a lot of crossover as well, right? Like, you can probably cross over from being a ectomorph to a mesomorph, by having, like you said earlier, you're structuring, as a trainer, you're structuring certain things in the client's routine. So, like, for example, if you are struggling to gain weight, like given time and following like a training plan and following a different diet that is using and utilizing increased calories, then you could easily fall into the mesomorph category. Like, if we're going to divide people up into that, and like if someone is classed as an endomorph, they may be that way because like they're sat down at the desk all day. They don't exercise. They're consuming too many calories. They rarely move, and they really work out. And like that can be just a slight adjustment as a trainer, that you make a couple of tweaks to their diet, and then you get them just to move a little bit, and then they could slip from one category into another again. But like I feel like I said earlier, in the fitness industry, we play on people's insecurities and things like that. Like, don't just use it as an excuse as to why you are skinny and you can't gain muscle, or to why you are overweight. I'm overweight because I am a endomorph, when really that you are over-consuming and you're not doing enough activity, and that's the reason you're overweight, not just because you are that kind of category, you've been classed into that category, or things aren't working out in your own training plan, and then you look online and you say, oh, there's a training plan for if you're an ectomorph, for example, and you're saying then, I haven't gained any muscle because I haven't used this training plan as an ectomorph, because they're selling you that online. That's not right either. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's tough, because as a trainer, you have to be brutally honest, Mark. Like you said earlier, you're telling people to schedule certain cardio in a certain times, but also like sometimes we can't look like a supermodel. So if you're a woman who's 5'2", then I can't get you to look like a 6-foot supermodel, but I can do what's best for you and what's best for your body. And I feel that comes down to you loving your body as well and being happy with it rather than trying to look like someone else all the time. Like, for example, my physique isn't like yours, right? And you have skinny legs, I have well-developed legs. So it's a
trade-off.
Messing with you there, man.
No. I was going to take the hit then. I thought, it's okay, I'll take it from you.
I have a six-pack and I get down to very low. I've been down to very low percentage levels, but I've never had an eight-pack. Or what, you got 10, right?
Not at the moment. I've got 8, I think. Yeah, but
right, 8 at the moment. Okay, so you can get what, up to 10?
I can get 10. Yeah, exactly. Which is a genetic.
I can't get that no matter what I do. Do you know what I mean? I can't. No matter how lean I get, I can't look like Martin. So if you're classing yourself as some body type or whatever, or you're trying to be like someone else, sometimes it can't happen. Just you can only make yourself into the best version of you. But like the fitness industry should stop selling people a dream. This body type is you. This is your training program. Just put structures in place that we keep on talking about each week, and you will get to the best version of yourself.
Exactly, and that kind of bleeds into the next question, because if you're making those fundamental changes we always talk about, and if you're, even if you're lifting weights and you're doing it properly, right? You're doing lifting weights properly, and you're treating each exercise as a skill, right? As a practice, rather than going into the gym and trying to sweat and falling into that camp where it's no days off and I've got to train hard every day and I've got to push myself in the gym, and looking at exercise and training as work, as opposed to going in there and focusing on, you could get away with doing literally 2 training sessions a week and get insane results. I train people, and I'm sure Andrew does as well. I train a lot of my clients actually do 2 sessions a week, 1 or 2 sessions a week. And the ones who do the 2 sessions a week, I get them significant results when they look at the long game and they focus on making those small incremental changes, and they're willing to change their behaviors and make these subtle changes as we always talk about. They get insane results down the line. And just as Sal Di Stefano said in one of my recent podcast episodes.
Are you saying that right, or are you?
What's that?
Sal
Di Stefano.
Stefano, I don't know.
It might be Stefano. Maybe
I'm not sure.
It's Stefano. It's Stefano.
All right.
It's Sal Di Stefano.
Inglourious Bastards. Have you seen that scene when he's trying to get them to speak Italian? Brad Pitt and that.
No.
It's awful the way they pronounce their names. You never seen that movie?
I've seen it. I can't remember that part though.
Watch that, and it'll remind you of that.
Exactly. Well, anyway, so I was talking to Sal Di Stefano, and he was talking about making. He was talking about making. He says, one thing he says is, if you can improve yourself a little bit, a tiny bit every day, that will lead to massive changes down the line. Okay, so this is bleeding into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was, as we talked about, I asked Sal this question on the episode, and folks, if you haven't listened to it, I think it's 2 episodes back, might be episode 56, I think it is, maybe 55. Check it out. It's an amazing episode. He covers everything. And it's about doing fitness the right way instead of the fast way. Okay, because as I was saying then, if you can focus on those fundamental things, lifting weights even twice a week, for example, is going to get you insane results. So instead of, like Andrew was saying then, online, you'll get all of these different companies or even, let's just talk about the Insta-famous models playing into your insecurities. Let's look at the female fitness model with 5 million followers, and what they do is they I was going to say they're quite smart, but not really. What they do is they just play on your insecurities. So they'll say, right, okay, this is what's going to work for females, for example. This program where they're using bands and they're doing all this fancy stuff in the gym, and this is going to work for you as a female, right? Because, they're playing into your hands with that, right? Rather than just, okay, this is what these exercises, if you do them properly, they work for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you're squatting properly, you're doing deadlift properly, you're focusing on those movements and you're doing it consistently a few times a week, doesn't matter whether you're male or female, the results are going to blow you away. So just bear that in mind. And how do you play it with clients, and when it comes to them changing their behaviors and getting those long-term results?
This is a step-by-step process, right? It's not something that I'm going to bombard someone with straight away. But I think the difficulty you have as a trainer is when they have come from another gym and another personal trainer, and all they've done, and I was guilty of this as myself as a new trainer, all they've done is push intensity during the session, and just trying to beat someone as hard as they can, hurting them for weeks on end, and continuing that process. But I think you just need to sit down with them and have a long chat and explain to them, as Sal did in the previous episode, that this is the long-term approach. Sit down with them, outline some of their goals, outline some of the habits that you can change with them. And I believe over time it will eventually sink in, but it is a difficult and long process, mate. And I feel like when you're working with clients, it's not always right. I'm not gonna drop their body fat straight away. If I can show them value in other ways, like improving their health and improving their and decreasing their risk of injury, and just and making them move better, and I can do that pretty quickly anyway. Then they're more likely to learn. Sorry, not learn, but they're more likely to value me as a trainer and believe in what I say. When I say you need to take the long-term approach, this is what you need to do, then they're more likely to believe me rather than me bullshitting them about, I'm going to get you in shape in 4 weeks. Anyone can do that. I can put you on a treadmill and give you a 1,000-calorie diet and get you to lose weight in 4 weeks. But really, are you going to keep that off long-term? No, you're going to rebound and it's going to come back to bite you, basically. So
exactly,
it's again making those small incremental changes, like you're saying about Sal earlier. You said you can get better every day. You can do that, and that's just a habit-based approach. Adding certain things in each day, and I try not to overwhelm people. I'm trying not to give them everything at once. As a new trainer, I was guilty of that. I was guilty of, okay, I'm going to give you a diet plan. Right, this is the food you need to eat. I'm going to give you a plan that involves weight training 5 to 6 days a week. I'm going to give you a plan of what to do on a night out. It all builds up, but that was so overwhelming for a client, and it was very rare that I would get someone to adhere to that.
Definitely.
Unless it was someone like yourself who would just stick to that plan, who is, you're obviously a physique model, so you're more likely to grab that plan and just follow it down to a T. But for any average person who works 10, 12 hours a day, has family life, really can get to the gym, they're not going to follow that. And as you alluded to earlier, you can quite comfortably get a good physique by training with weights correctly 2 days a week and just moving more.
Definitely. I was going to say then as well, yeah, because I'm glad you said that, because one of the reasons we're here on this podcast preaching about the stuff we preach about is because we failed a lot of people, right? We didn't get to where we are as trainers over however long we've been doing this. I've been doing this for 12 years now, from getting it right every time. It's just like anything in life you do, right? You're going to fail. You're going to get things wrong, and you're going to learn from it, and then you're going to apply something different, and then you might get that wrong, and then you're going to learn from it, and then you're going to, you know what I mean? This is fitness and health and sustainable health and building a good-looking body. As we've explained before, you really can't cut corners. It's just one of those things where you just got to enjoy the process. But yeah, as I was saying, that was our approach before. It was like, okay, I have the answer for you. I've got the answer for you. Do this, do this, do this, do this. So as Andrew said then, we would inundate them with several different habits we'd like them to change. For example, changing anything with food, with what you're eating, is a massive, massive thing to change and sustain. Even if you change one thing. Let's just say, for example, you're listening to this, right? And you like chocolate, right? Imagine I said to you, you want to get in shape, right? You come to me, you want to lose body fat, you want to look better, and you want to feel better. You want to build your confidence, whatever it is, right? That's normally the case for most people. You eat chocolate most days, right? If I said to you, right, first task, I want you to cut chocolate out, right? That to you might sound like, oh, okay, I reckon I can do that, right? You'll trick yourself. That's another thing, folks, right? We're very good as humans at lying to ourselves. We're amazing at doing that. I do it all the time, lie to myself about certain things which are unrealistic. Like I'm going to get this done today. most days I set myself tasks, right, and I get probably half of them done. Okay, that's just an example. But going back to the chocolate, right? You're eating chocolate every day, and I say to you, okay, cut chocolate out. Good luck with that, right? You'd be lucky to last a week or two, or maybe let's just say at most.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Even if you're like Andrew was saying then, even if you're at a higher level, you're a fitness model, you're a physique competitor, right? And you're like, oh, I've been eating too much chocolate. Help me now when I get back on track. Okay, cut that out. Might last about 4 weeks. So, for example, I'll even scale that back. Rather than before, Andrew and I would be like, right, okay, here's a diet plan, which straight away you're setting them up for failure, right? You're giving someone's going from most of the time, even people who think they're eating healthy, they're not, right? So they're eating not the best, and then you're like, right, here's this diet plan, right? That's work for us as bodybuilders, because that's where we were at before. That's all we knew really was like, okay, I can get shredded. So I'll eat, let's just say I'll eat meat and vegetables most meals, and I'll have a cheat meal once a week, which again is a disaster, right? So
which worked for you at that time, but it wasn't sustainable, right? And I guess that's the message we're trying to preach now. That was
definitely. Where did that get us, And? Where did that get us? We've told the listeners.
It got us to insecurities about our body, eating disorders, fluctuations in weight, you name it, we had it. So, and having that black and white plan is, you don't learn anything from it. I think that's the biggest takeaway we can get from this. Like anyone can lose weight quickly, right? But there's very few people who can keep that off long term. And if you're not learning anything from the process, then you're not going to be able to sustain it for the rest of your life, and that's what you're looking to do. So it's just like a black and white plan. It kind of like, say I gave you a black and white plan now, and then the weekend came and you had an evening out with your friends or your family, and you knew that there was going to be some of the foods at the restaurant that you didn't have on your plan. Would that make you super anxious about going out on the weekend?
For sure.
Right. So is that developing like a healthy relationship with food or with your family and things like that? Or is that just leading to more issues?
Exactly.
Mentally?
Much more issues. And I'm glad you just come back to me then. Just had a little alarm bell ring then, because I had this client and I this is when I was competing actually, and I got her in amazing shape, right? So she went from being extremely overweight and actually really unhealthy to the transformation was insane. Probably the best transformation I've had physically. If you were to look at the before and after shot, I could easily, I think it's on my old website actually. I could put it on our new website coming now, and for example, right? And just lie to everyone, because do you know what? She's put a lot of that weight back on. To be fair, she hasn't put it all back on, right? But she was not in a good, mentally, I'm not going to go into it. Luckily, none of the listeners know who she was. Mentally, she wasn't in a good place when I started training her. And I lost, let's just say she lost all in all, it was an insane amount. It was something like maybe 30, 40 kilos. Transformation was insane, but I didn't change anything fundamental with her behaviors and her life, essentially. I got her in shape, I got her to look better. And I got her like we were saying earlier, she went from one extreme to another. So she was eating terrible. And then I said, right, follow this diet plan. And she was training with me 5 times a week. Anyway, long story short, then she put pretty much all the weight, well, not all of it. She put a solid kind of 20 kilos back on. And then she was battling to get it off again. She stopped training with me. I used to see her every now and then. And then her only way she knew then was what I taught her was to train every day. Right? This is the only way. The thing is, folks, when you lose a significant amount of weight, if you're not doing it the right way, you're doing it the fast way, like I'd done with her, the only way then to lose weight is to go balls to wall every day in the gym and eat, let's just say chicken and broccoli most meals. She was literally doing that. She was eating like a bodybuilder and actually training like a bodybuilder. That's not sustainable. And I failed her. As I said earlier, I failed a lot of people from that approach. So, making those small changes, for example, I don't know, give me an example, and of something simple you'll tell a client to do, a new client, if they've got certain behaviors which are not serving them very well. Simple
one would be just to add in a 10-minute walk in the morning and a 10-minute walk in the afternoon.
Boom. And what results will they get if they do that for a solid month or two, and?
They obviously increase their activity level, so their non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which can help with metabolism. But I think more and all, it just shows them that, moving more can help reduce body fat, but even more importantly, reduce stress levels when they're living in such a busy environment. Just taking that time out of their day to come off social media or their screen at work is a bigger benefit than any fat loss will be anyway, in my opinion.
Definitely. Let's just say that client and stuck to that for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, right? Give me another habit you could change, other than increasing the steps again. Give me another habit you could change with her.
Increase your water intake.
Boom. And then
Simple.
she could stick to having an extra glass or 2 of waters a day and sustain that for another few weeks.
Yeah.
And then she'll start noticing. And then even within that time, man, she will start noticing the intrinsic changes, right? Like, oh, I've got more energy. When I wake up in the morning, I don't feel lethargic. I'm waking up and I feel, and they start connecting the dots. And then the next step, like most people I find undereat fiber. Okay, so a little mind pump media trick. I heard this on one of their podcasts, and they were like, they'll tell them to have an extra cup of berries a day. Now, I always used to eat more vegetables. The thing is, a lot of people struggle to eat vegetables. So simple, have an extra cup of berries a day. Like in 100 grams of berries, you're going to get about 4 grams of fiber, but the right types of fiber. So if you do that every day, not to mention all the antioxidants and the polyphenols and all that kind of stuff you get in berries and low sugar and whatnot. So to increase your fiber, how about you have an extra cup of berries a day? You know what I mean? And be consistent with that. And again, what you'll start noticing then is, maybe your digestion improves because fiber is really good for the gut. Again, your energy improves. You start getting more sustained energy and less dips because you're getting that kind of slow release of nutrients and all those subtle changes. And then I'll say, okay, we need to bump that fiber up a little bit more and increase your veg. So how about you have a handful of spinach a day? You know what I mean? All
and then
these
even
changes, Hans.
a fistful of protein with each meal. Not only is that going to keep you satiated, but that's going to help you recover better from a personal training session or walking.
Fistful of protein, that's a good one, that. And then
the majority of people are under-eating protein and fiber, especially women in the diet. Even if they have a well-controlled diet, they tend to under-eat protein as well. So that's a huge win if you have a female client or if there's any females listening now.
Yep.
Just add a small amount to your meal. See how you feel. See if you're recovering better.
Exactly. And by a fistful of protein, you mean it could be some lean steak, some chicken, or some fish. Yeah.
Exactly. Some animal fats in there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing whilst we're on that topic is the fats as well. I find a lot of people under-eat the right kinds of fats. So as Andrew mentioned then, animal fats that you get in red meat. You get lots of healthy fats in red meat, but fish, we all know omega-3s, really, really good. And also fats help to synthesize protein. So just by adding that extra handful of protein, whether that's fish or red meat or, chicken thighs as well. I've noticed you eat chicken thighs, don't you, instead of breast, and yeah?
I do, yeah.
Same. I started doing that.
Are all cost because of the fat content in them.
Exactly.
We were lied to, and we took this to heart. Basically, to not eat a lot of fat before because we felt that it would make us fat, right? So our diet would be probably higher in the consumption of proteins and lean proteins more than anything. So
exactly.
And it was just it was a vile diet. It's not as tasty.
Gross. Mate, turkey. It just come back to me then, turkey. Oh, God, I used to eat that leading up to shows.
Brown rice and now I understand that white rice is more nutritious to me if I can have that in my diet. Chicken thighs are very flavoursome. The fat tastes delicious. You put a seasoning on there, some roasted vegetables in olive oil and some salt is again delicious. And I feel that misconception people have is that eating healthy has to be very bland. But once you start cooking a lot more and you develop your palate and your taste buds change, eating healthy, you won't want anything else. And again, that's a long-term approach. It takes time to get to that stage because you are probably consuming your average there's an American diet here which is full of processed foods. So they are designed to be highly palatable, as we've said before. And they're made to be delicious. But once you start making these incremental changes to your diet, those type of things you'd want to avoid because when you taste them, they'll become too sweet. And you'll enjoy having those berries, which taste a lot better in the morning, or having a piece of fruit or something like that, and your taste buds will change in time. So, the processed foods, once you start dropping those out of your diet over time, then you'll find other things far more delicious.
Definitely, mate. Move your hands from the camera, bro. Sorry, man. Yeah, that's all right. No worries. Just to sum that up then, really, I mean, we always sometimes talk about similar things, but obviously we do take different directions, and, we gave you some insight then on fiber and stuff like that. So, it's always slightly different to what we talked about, on previous episodes, but it always comes back around to those fundamental things. And, we're determined to get into your head and change the way you think. The podcasts are slowly growing, which is good. So, if you keep listening, you're going to start, and I'm sure I've already heard a lot of you are making these changes already. So, consistency is key. And I just wanted to talk real quickly about patience as well, because, being consistent is, as we said before, the person who's training once or twice a week and they're going to the gym and they're really focusing on lifting weights properly and just focusing on technique and doing it right, is going to get much, much better results long term than the person who's going balls to wall in the gym every day and lasting for a month and then falling off and then going back and then falling off. The person who is consistent a few times a week is going to get by far superior results to the person who's on the on or off wagon, right? So always bear that in mind. And patience, okay? So it sounds a bit like a bit grim when you say patience, right? But all it is just trusting the process and enjoying it, and like just be thankful. As Andrew said earlier, you're doing it because you want to take care of yourself, right? You're going to the gym. If you're listening to this podcast, the chances are you're doing it for the right reasons now. You're doing it because you're taking care of yourself and you love your body, not because I hate this part of my body and I want to change it fast, because that's not the right way. That's the fast way, and most of the time that ends in tears.
Awesome. And like maintaining diets, it can be hard. Like, so you need to make it as easy on yourself as possible, and like look for something that works and fits into your lifestyle. Because like I'm seeing different talk on social media about like doing a celery diet, and like why would you want to do anything like that? Like that would be absolute misery to do that long term.
Absolutely,
it makes no sense to me. Like really,
Definitely.
I think like people think like a short-term transformation in 4 weeks is sexy, right? You got abs in 4 weeks' time. You're on holiday, you're showing yourself on social media. But for the most part, like I was guilty of this in the past. After I got those abs, as soon as I ate normally again, I would just blow up. So
exactly,
you're not building sustainable habits that can potentially last a lifetime, and that's what you need to look towards.
For sure.
Start making those changes now. Like we just obviously brought those points up earlier. They're just some of the changes you can make. I know that may seem like a slow and painstaking process, but if you keep yo-yo dieting year in, year out, you're doing that for longer anyway. So why not start now?
Absolutely. And just come back to me then. I might play this real quick for the listeners before we finish up. Did you see one of Ben Kuma's posts with Jordan, Katie Price? So this is the kind of thing.
I saw somebody post this morning. Though I saved that actually.
This is the kind of thing. It's like there's women with, she's got like 2 million followers, right? And she's talking about she's just come back off holiday and she's got this bloody product, right? It's called the Boombod, and you take it for a week and you lose. I want to. You're going to lose weight for a week. And there's girls commenting 11 and 12. This is where we're at now with social media. There's these influencers. This is what the battle we're fighting, and right? It's like these people, like you said, eating the celery diet and doing these Herbalife, whatever it is. You listen to this for 2 seconds, right? I'll try and play it now to the listeners.
Here I am again, back on a Boombod. I went to Spain last week and I ate so much, so I just want a little bit of weight loss again. So I'm going to start this, and what you get with your Boombod is your sachets of morning, afternoon and evening, and it's so easy. All you do is get a glass of water like this.
And it's just straight sugar as well, just to top it off.
I'm going to do the morning one because I haven't had breakfast yet. Pour the sachet in like that.
Anyway, you get the gist, right? So she's got this bloody Boombod sachets, full of sugar or whatever, and she's saying, right, okay, if you want to lose weight and you want to look better, playing into the insecurities, like you said, Anne, and not just to the average person, like you've got young kids. Like, this is the kind of battle we're facing, Anne, but that's what we're here for, Anne, isn't it?
And obviously we talked about the guys who wrote in earlier about different body types and things like that, but there is a massive epidemic amongst children with obesity increasing. I think it's like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 kids in the UK are overweight going from primary school to high school. And then they're following and listening to people like Katie Price, buying the products, not learning anything from the process, drinking it, losing weight, and then probably ballooning up after. And it's just making that the issue even worse. Like, we really need to start educating people and stopping people like Katie on Instagram selling these products, because she's just looking to make a quick buck. None of that is sustainable long term, and it's just making these issues worse. So
Exactly.
we're all part of the problem, like, you know. So
yeah, we are, definitely. I've done that to people in the past. Like I said, don't think Andrew and I haven't done that to people. Like, not purposely. We've said, right, follow this diet plan, and they can't sustain it. And you know what? They put all the weight back on. The thing is, if you lose a significant, like I've said before, 6 out of 7 people have lost a significant amount of weight and gained it all back and more. And what happens when you gain it all back is you feel terrible about yourself mentally. You feel so shitty about yourself because you've got these results. You've seen what you can look like as well, and straight away you've attached it to how you look at the start anyway, which is, you know, kind of on the back foot really, because you've disregarded health. And then you look, you know, you've lost X amount of body fat, and you've put it all back on, and you're back to square one again. And as Andrew said, you haven't learned anything from the process. You know, you haven't changed any fundamental behaviors like drinking more water or moving more. And you've got these young kids doing this, you know. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with the listeners that, you know, it's not about the quick fix. It's just avoid any short-term fitness campaigns at all costs, really.
Yeah. What do you do when you start feeling, you know, you put that weight back on? You then use food as like a punishment, I guess. So you start abusing food from that, for the most part, eating more. So it is a vicious cycle, unfortunately. But we are out here trying to give good content, and I feel like the fitness industry is fighting back, and there's a lot of people calling people out on bullshit on social media.
It's great.
Like we did there, you know what I mean? I think this is what you wrote this morning as well. Sorry to carry on, but he said something like this is it. The people you respect and look up to play the long game. So why are you still playing the short game?
Spot on. Anyway, I might even call the podcast episode that. That was spot on. Exactly. That's bang on. And that's so true, isn't it? And that's with anything. It's with anything in life, and like the mind kind of functions in that way regardless. So if you look at people who are successful business-wise, do you think they've played the short game? No, they've grinded for decades in the quiet when no one's looking, and they're not on Instagram bragging about it. And then you see them then, you know, living the life and preaching about what they've done and stuff, and people think, oh, I want a piece of that. But most people are not willing to put the work in and put the hours in to get there. And it's exactly the same with health and fitness, really. But it doesn't have to be. Another thing is what you see is it's a grind. You see these fitness models like, you know, making it look so hard and miserable, like it's a grind, and it's like no days off, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be a chore, and it shouldn't be something that, you know, you have to do to look or feel a certain way. It just needs to be these small changes, like these very simple changes. Like, and we're not saying it's easy. It's not easy, but it is simple. It's very simple when you do these things.
Yeah, we overcomplicate it sometimes, right? I think
Definitely.
That's to spread the right message.
100%. Let's cap it off there. So we did say we were going to do half hour max, and we've done 43 minutes again, so we've gone over. But we come into our flow, and don't we, towards the end? That's the problem.
Yeah, we need to start that way, right?
Yeah, I'll just cut off the first 20 minutes in future.
Yeah, we'll talk to each other first, not record it, and then we'll just record halfway through, and we'll be good.
Spot on. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and nice one, Ant, for jumping in again, mate.
Thank you, mate. Talk soon.
Speak soon.